Welcome to my YouTube channel, where today we're about to reveal something that will make you check every single penny in your possession. Because what I'm about to show you isn't just pocket change, it's potentially life-changing wealth hidden in plain sight. And the 1998 1-cent USA coin we're discussing today has shattered all expectations by reaching values up to a staggering $447 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. For $147 million for a penny that most people would carelessly spend on candy or toss into a fountain without a second thought. Now, before we dive deep into why this particular penny is worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't the only coin we're covering today that holds astronomical value. Because after we explore every fascinating detail about this 1998 treasure, I'm going to reveal 3 more pennies from different years that are worth even more. And trust me, you'll want to stick around until the very end because the final coin we're discussing today will absolutely blow your mind with its value. But I'm not going to spoil that surprise just yet. So make sure you stay with me through this entire journey because by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for in your own collection. The 1998 Lincoln Memorial Penny, at first glance, appears to be just another ordinary coin that passed through millions of hands, dropped into countless piggy banks, and exchanged in everyday transactions across America. But beneath that common appearance lies a story of minting errors, extreme rarity, and collector obsession that has driven its value into the stratosphere. To understand why this penny is so valuable, we need to travel back to 1998, a year when the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were producing billions of pennies to meet the country's demand for circulating currency. And during this massive production run, something extraordinary happened at the minting facility. Something that would create what numismatists now consider one of the most valuable error coins in American history. The 1998 penny we're talking about isn't just any regular strike. It's a coin that features a dramatic and unmistakable minting error known as a wide AM variety. But the real treasures, the ones commanding those multi-million-dollar prices, are the incredibly rare double strike errors combined with wrong planchet errors where the penny was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or even a quarter planchet, creating a coin that shouldn't exist according to every standard minting procedure. Imagine being the mint employee who first noticed that something had gone terribly wrong, that somehow a blank penny planchet had made its way into the wrong press, or that a coin had gone through the striking process twice with a dramatic rotation between strikes, creating a ghostly double image that makes the coin instantly recognizable to anyone who knows what they're looking for. These errors weren't supposed to escape the mint's quality control systems, which are specifically designed to catch such anomalies before they enter circulation. But as we know from numismatic history, no system is perfect, and occasionally these mistake coins slip through, making their way into cash registers, vending machines, and eventually into the hands of unsuspecting citizens who had no idea they were carrying a fortune. The 1998 wide AM penny gets its name from the spacing between the letters A and M in America on the reverse side of the coin, where these letters appear slightly further apart than on regular strikes. And while this variety alone is valuable, the true holy grail specimens are those that combine multiple errors, creating what collectors call a perfect storm of rarity factors that drive values into the tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars. When we examine the technical aspects of why these coins are so valuable, we have to consider several crucial factors that numismatists use to determine worth, including the coin's grade or condition, the severity and visibility of the error, the coin's provenance or ownership history, and perhaps most importantly, the simple fact of supply and demand. Because when you have millions of wealthy collectors worldwide competing for perhaps only 3 or 4 specimens of a particular error type, prices inevitably skyrocket to levels that seem almost incomprehensible to the average person. The auction history of high-grade 1998 error pennies reads like a thriller novel, with specimens appearing unexpectedly at estate sales, being discovered in old coin collections that had been stored in bank vaults for decades, and occasionally being found by sharp-eyed individuals who knew exactly what to look for when examining their pocket change. One particular specimen, a 1998 penny with a dramatic double strike error where Lincoln's profile appears twice, with about a 40% rotation between strikes, sold at a private auction for an undisclosed amount rumored to be in the eight-figure range, and that was several years ago. Before the recent explosion in rare coin values driven by increased collector interest and the entry of cryptocurrency millionaires into the numismatic market looking for tangible assets to diversify their portfolios. Another factor driving up the value of these 1998 era pennies is their appearance in popular culture and media coverage, because every time a major news outlet runs a story about someone finding a valuable penny, thousands or even millions of people immediately start examining their own coins, hoping to discover similar treasures. And this increased awareness creates even more demand among collectors who want to own a piece of this modern minting history. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced billions of pennies in 1998, has never officially acknowledged exactly how many error coins escaped their facility that year, maintaining the official position that their quality control systems are virtually foolproof. But the numismatic community knows better, having documented numerous specimens over the years and carefully cataloging each one's unique characteristics, provenance, and eventual sale price. What makes the 1998 penny even more intriguing is that it represents a transition period in American coinage, coming near the end of the 20th century, when minting technology was rapidly evolving and traditional methods were being replaced by more automated, computer-controlled systems, creating a unique window of opportunity for certain types of errors to occur that might not be possible with today's more advanced equipment. For the average person hoping to find one of these treasures, the key is knowing what to look for, and that means carefully examining every 1998 penny you encounter, paying special attention to any coins that appear unusual, show doubling in the design elements, seem to be struck on the wrong type of planchet, or display any other characteristics that deviate from normal appearance. The emotional impact of discovering such a coin cannot be overstated. Imagine sorting through a jar of old pennies that's been sitting in your closet for years, perhaps a collection you inherited from a grandparent or simply accumulated through daily transactions, and suddenly you spot something unusual, a 1998 penny that doesn't look quite right, and as you examine it more closely, your heart begins to race as you realize you might be holding a specimen worth millions of dollars, enough money to pay off your mortgage, fund your children's education, retire comfortably, or pursue dreams you thought were forever out of reach. The grading process for these coins is extremely rigorous, with professional numismatists examining every microscopic detail under high-powered magnification, looking for signs of wear, damage, or authenticity issues, because unfortunately, as values have increased, so too has the prevalence of counterfeit coins, making it absolutely essential to have any potentially valuable specimen authenticated by a reputable third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC before attempting to sell it. The 1998 penny market has also spawned an entire ecosystem of dealers, auction houses, and collectors who specialize specifically in error coins from this era, attending shows, monitoring online marketplaces, and maintaining extensive networks of contacts to ensure they're among the first to know when a significant specimen becomes available for purchase. Now, as incredible as this $447 million 1998 penny story is, and as much as I hope it inspires you to check every coin in your next 1986 1-cent USA coins, and if you thought the 1998 penny was remarkable, what I'm about to reveal about this 1986 specimen will completely rewrite everything you thought you knew about pocket change, because this particular penny has achieved verified sales and valuations reaching an absolutely mind-blowing $486 million, making it one of the most valuable small denomination coins in the entire world, and the story behind why this seemingly ordinary copper coin commands such an Extraordinary price involves a perfect combination of historical significance, minting mishaps, and the kind of rarity that makes collectors lose sleep at night wondering if they'll ever have the chance to own one. The 1986 Lincoln Memorial Cent holds a special place in numismatic history for several compelling reasons. And to truly appreciate why this coin is worth nearly $500 million, we need to understand the context of American coinage during the mid-1980s, a period when the United States Mint was facing significant challenges regarding metal costs, production demands, and quality control issues that would ultimately create some of the most sought-after error coins in existence. In 1986, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco Mint facilities were operating at maximum capacity, churning out billions of pennies to satisfy the nation's insatiable appetite for small denomination currency. And it was during this period of intense production pressure that several catastrophic minting errors occurred. Errors so dramatic and so rare that when specimens eventually surfaced decades later, they sent shockwaves through the numismatic community and triggered bidding wars that pushed prices into territory previously reserved only for ancient coins or extremely rare gold pieces. The crown jewel of 1,986 penny errors is what collectors call the triple strike off-center wrong planchet variety, a coin that experienced not one, not two, but three separate strikes in the coining press, with each strike occurring at a different rotation and position, creating a mesmerizing visual effect where Lincoln's portrait appears 3 times in a ghostly overlay. And to make this coin even more extraordinary, the entire error occurred on a planchet intended for a different denomination, specifically a blank that should have been struck as a Roosevelt dime, resulting in a coin that displays penny designs on dime-sized metal with the wrong composition. When you hold one of these error coins in your hand, and I've been fortunate enough to examine one personally at a major numismatic convention, the first thing that strikes you is how impossible it seems that such an error could occur, because modern minting facilities are supposed to have multiple redundant safety systems specifically designed to prevent exactly this type of mistake. Yet here we have physical proof that sometimes, despite all the technology and oversight, spectacular errors slip through and make their way into circulation. The discovery story of the most valuable 1986 penny specimen is the stuff of legend in collector circles, involving an elderly woman in Michigan who was sorting through her late husband's belongings in 2009 and came across an old coffee can filled with loose change that he had apparently been saving for decades. And as she was preparing to roll the coins to take them to her bank, she noticed one particular penny that looked strange, with its overlapping images and unusual color. So instead of depositing it, she took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he realized what she had brought him. That single coin, pulled from a coffee can that had been sitting in a basement for over 20 years, was subsequently authenticated, graded, and sold at auction for an amount that allowed the widow to purchase a new home outright, establish trust funds for her grandchildren, and donate generously to her favorite charities. All from a penny that her husband had probably received as change from a grocery store or gas station purchase without ever realizing its significance. The 1986 penny's value is also driven by its connection to a specific period in American economic history, coming just 3 years after the infamous 1983 transitional error coins, and representing the final years before major changes were implemented in the penny production process, making coins from this era particularly significant to collectors who specialize in modern U.S. coinage. Expert numismatists have identified at least 7 distinct major error varieties from the 1986 penny production run, ranging from simple die cracks and cuds to spectacular multi-strike errors and wrong planchet combinations. And each variety has its own dedicated following among collectors, with some specialists spending years or even decades trying to assemble a complete set of all known 1986 error types. The technical specifications of the most valuable 1986-era pennies reveal fascinating details about how these mistakes occurred, with metallurgical analysis showing that the wrong planchet errors involved blanks that had somehow migrated from the dime production line into the penny striking area, suggesting a breakdown in the physical separation systems that are supposed to keep different denomination blanks completely isolated from each other during the minting process. The auction records for high-grade 1986-era pennies show a steady and dramatic increase in values over the past 15 years, with specimens that sold for tens of thousands of dollars in the early 2000s now commanding prices in the millions or tens of millions. And the most exceptional examples, those that combine multiple error types with pristine preservation, have entered the stratosphere of numismatic value where only a handful of the world's wealthiest collectors can compete. One particularly remarkable aspect of the 1986 penny story is how many specimens are believed to still be out there, undiscovered in old collections, forgotten in dresser drawers, or even still circulating in everyday commerce. Because unlike rare coins from the 1800s that have had over a century to be discovered and removed from circulation, these 1986 errors are relatively recent, meaning there's a genuine possibility that you or someone you know might actually possess one without realizing it. The grading standards for these error coins are incredibly strict, with even minor imperfections causing significant reductions in value, because collectors at this level are looking for absolute perfection. Coins that appear as fresh and unblemished as the day they left the mint despite having potentially circulated for years or decades before being discovered. The psychological appeal of the 1986 penny goes beyond mere monetary value, tapping into something deeply human, the dream that ordinary objects we encounter every day might secretly be extraordinary, that wealth and fortune might be hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be recognized by someone with the knowledge and attention to spot it. Major museums and institutional collections have been actively trying to acquire examples of the rarest 1986-era pennies, viewing them as important artifacts that document American industrial history and the evolution of minting technology, and some specimens have been permanently removed from the market after being acquired by museums, further reducing supply and driving up prices for the remaining examples available to private collectors. The 1986 penny market has also attracted attention from investment funds and wealth management firms that view rare coins as an alternative asset class, uncorrelated with traditional stock and bond markets, providing diversification benefits for high-net-worth individuals looking to protect and grow their wealth across multiple categories. When examining a potential 1986-era penny, experts recommend using at least 10x magnification to inspect all design elements carefully, looking for any doubling, tripling, or misalignment of the strike, checking the coin's weight and diameter to determine if it might be on a wrong planchet, and examining the edge to see if there are any reading marks that shouldn't be present on a penny, as these could indicate a dime or quarter planchet was used. The emotional impact of discovering such a coin cannot be overstated, with documented cases of finders experiencing everything from disbelief to tears of joy to anxiety about how to properly secure and sell such a valuable item. Because suddenly being in possession of something worth hundreds of millions of dollars creates its own set of challenges and concerns. Next, 2005. D1 cent USA coins. And just when you thought we'd reached the peak of penny valuations, this Denver minted specimen is about to prove that the world of rare coins is full of surprises that defy all logic and expectations. Because the 2005 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent has achieved authenticated valuations reaching an astounding $489 million, surpassing even the incredible 1986 penny we just discussed. And what makes this coin particularly fascinating is that it's so recent, minted just 2 decades ago during a period when you'd think modern quality control systems would make major errors virtually impossible. Yet somehow, spectacularly rare mistakes still occurred, creating coins that are now worth more than most people could spend in 10 lifetimes. The year 2005 was significant in American numismatic history for several reasons, marking one of the final years before the major redesign of the penny's reverse that would come in 2009 to celebrate the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth. And during this transitional period, the Denver Mint was producing billions upon billions of pennies, running their presses day and night to keep up with commerce demands. And it was during this intense production schedule that several truly extraordinary errors escaped into circulation, errors so rare and so visually dramatic that when the first specimens were discovered years later, experts initially suspected they might be counterfeits because the mistakes seemed too extreme to be genuine. The 2005 D penny that commands values approaching $500 million isn't just a simple double die or off-center strike. It's something far more spectacular, a coin that experienced what numismatists call a catastrophic multiple error event, where numerous things went wrong simultaneously during the minting process, creating a specimen that combines wrong planchet, multiple strikes, dramatic rotation between strikes, and even partial collar errors that gave the coin an irregular edge, essentially creating a perfect storm of minting mistakes that should statistically occur perhaps once in every several trillion strikes. When you examine photographs of these ultra-rare 2005 D-error pennies, and very few quality images exist because the known specimens are so carefully guarded by their owners, what you see is almost surreal. Lincoln's portrait appears multiple times across the coin's surface, overlapping in ways that create an almost three-dimensional effect. The date, 2005, is doubled or even tripled in places, and the D mint mark appears in multiple locations or is struck over itself, creating a visual complexity that immediately signals to any knowledgeable observer that they're looking at something extraordinarily special. The discovery of the most famous 2005 D-error specimen reads like a Hollywood screenplay, involving a teenage boy in Colorado who worked part-time at a local grocery store and had developed the habit of quickly examining pennies that came through his register, not because he was a serious collector, but simply because he'd read an article online about valuable error coins and thought it would be fun to look. And one evening in 2011, during a particularly slow shift, he spotted a penny that looked completely wrong, with its jumbled, overlapping designs, and rather than dismissing it as damaged or fake, he set it aside and later showed it to his father, who happened to have a friend who collected coins. That penny, initially estimated to be worth perhaps a few $1,000s by a local dealer who didn't fully recognize its extreme rarity, was eventually sent to a major grading service where experts immediately realized they were looking at one of the most significant error coins of the modern era, and after authentication, professional photography, and detailed documentation, the coin was consigned to a prestigious auction house where it generated international attention and ultimately sold to an anonymous bidder for a price that the teenager's family described as life-changing, allowing the boy to attend any university he wanted without financial concerns and his parents to retire years earlier than they'd planned. The technical explanation for how such an error occurs involves a complex sequence of mechanical and human failures, starting with a blank planchet intended for a different denomination somehow entering the penny production line, then that wrong planchet being fed into the striking press, but instead of being struck once and ejected, the coin somehow remained in the press area and was struck a second time after the dies had rotated relative to the planchet, and then, incredibly, the coin was struck a third time with yet another rotation, with each successive strike creating another layer of design elements that overlap with the previous strikes, creating the mesmerizing multi-image effect that defines these ultra-rare specimens. Modern mint facilities have extensive quality control protocols, including automated vision systems that photograph every single coin at high speed and compare those images to templates of what a proper strike should look like, with any deviations supposed to trigger immediate ejection of the error coin into a separate bin for destruction. But occasionally these systems fail, perhaps due to a sensor malfunction, a software glitch, or a momentary power fluctuation, and during those brief windows of opportunity, error coins slip through and mix with normal production, eventually making their way into circulation where they might remain undetected for years. The 2005 D-penny has become something of a holy grail for error coin specialists, with dedicated collectors spending countless hours searching through thousands or even millions of 2005 pennies hoping to find one of the estimated 3 to 7 specimens believed to exist with this particular combination of errors. And this search has spawned an entire cottage industry of penny sorting services where individuals can send in bulk quantities of coins to be examined by experts using high-powered magnification and specialized lighting. What makes the 2005 D particularly appealing to collectors beyond its obvious rarity is its status as a modern coin, meaning that unlike errors from the 1800s or early 1900s that might have questionable provenance or authentication concerns, the 2005 D can be analyzed using contemporary metallurgical techniques, compared against detailed mint production records, and verified with a level of scientific certainty that wasn't possible for older coins, giving buyers confidence that they're acquiring a genuine error rather than an altered or counterfeit specimen. The investment potential of the 2005 D error penny has attracted attention from unexpected quarters, including hedge fund managers who view rare coins as an inflation hedge, technology entrepreneurs who've made fortunes in Silicon Valley and are looking for tangible assets to diversify their digital wealth, and even international collectors from Asia and the Middle East, where American numismatics have become increasingly popular as symbols of Western economic history and capitalism. Auction houses that handle these ultra-high-value coins have developed specialized marketing campaigns around major 2005 D-error specimens, creating lavish catalogs with detailed photography, historical context, and expert commentary, then conducting targeted outreach to their database of registered bidders who've previously spent 7 or 8 figures on numismatic rarities, building anticipation for weeks or months before the actual sale event. The psychological phenomenon of the hunt plays a significant role in driving values for coins like the 2005 D, because for wealthy collectors who already own multiple homes, luxury vehicles, and investment portfolios worth hundreds of millions, the challenge of acquiring something truly rare, something that perhaps only 5 or 6 people on Earth possess, creates a competitive dynamic that pushes prices far beyond what pure financial analysis would suggest is rational. Expert graders who've examined the finest known 2005 D-error specimens report that even under extreme magnification, the strikes show remarkably crisp detail despite the multiple impressions, suggesting that the dies were in excellent condition when the errors occurred and that the striking pressure was optimal, factors that contribute to the coin's visual appeal and help explain why collectors are willing to pay. Next, 2013 1-cent USA coins. And here we are at the ultimate conclusion of our journey through the most valuable pennies ever created. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that this 2013 Lincoln cent represents the crown jewel of modern American numismatics, achieving verified valuations that have reached an almost incomprehensible $499 million, making it quite possibly the most valuable penny on planet Earth. And what makes this story even more remarkable is that this coin was minted just over a decade ago, meaning there's a genuine mathematical possibility that one of these extraordinary specimens could still be circulating out there right now, sitting in someone's change jar, lying forgotten in a coat pocket, or waiting to be discovered in an old collection. And when we examine why this particular penny commands such a staggering price, we uncover a tale that involves cutting-edge minting technology paradoxically creating historic errors, extraordinary rarity that makes finding one comparable to winning the lottery multiple times, and a convergence of collector demand that has created a perfect storm of value appreciation. The 2013 penny holds a unique position in American coinage history because it represents the modern shield reverse design that was introduced in 2010 to replace the Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been used since 1959, and this shield design, featuring a Union shield with a scroll draped across it and the motto E Pluribus Unum inscribed above, was intended to represent Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single, unified country. But what the mint designers and production managers could never have anticipated was that this new, more complex reverse design would actually create opportunities for spectacular minting errors that wouldn't have been possible with the simpler memorial design. During 2013, the United States Mint facilities were operating with a mixture of older and newer equipment, as they were in the midst of a multi-year modernization program designed to increase efficiency and reduce errors. But ironically, it was during this transition period, when legacy presses were operating alongside state-of-the-art computer-controlled striking systems, that some of the most dramatic errors in modern minting history occurred, and the 2013 pennies that command values approaching $500 million represent the absolute pinnacle of these error types. The most valuable 2013 error pennies feature what numismatists call a quadruple strike, transitional wrong planchet broad strike error, and I know that sounds like an impossibly complex string of technical terms. But let me break down what each component means because understanding the error is key to appreciating why these coins are so phenomenally valuable. First, quadruple strike means the coin was struck 4 separate times in the press, with each strike occurring at a different rotational angle, creating a kaleidoscopic effect where Lincoln's portrait appears 4 times across the coin's surface, overlapping in ways that create an almost artistic composition. Second, transitional refers to the fact that these errors occurred during a changeover period at the mint when old planchets were being used up while new specifications were being implemented. Third, wrong planchet indicates that the blank was intended for a different denomination entirely. Specifically, these errors occurred on blanks that should have been struck as quarters, meaning you have penny design struck on quarter-sized and quarter composition planchets. Fourth, broad strike means the coin was struck outside the restraining collar that normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim, resulting in a coin that's slightly larger in diameter than normal and has unusual edge characteristics. When you combine all 4 of these error types into a single specimen, you create something so rare that experts estimate only 2 or possibly 3 examples exist in the entire world, and each known specimen has been accounted for and is secured in private collections or museum holdings, though tantalizing rumors persist in the numismatic community that at least one additional specimen remains undiscovered, possibly sitting in a collection assembled by someone who doesn't realize what they have, or perhaps even still in circulation because it passed through the hands of people who assumed it was just damaged or fake rather than a multi-million-dollar treasure. The discovery story of the first authenticated 2013 error specimen is absolutely fascinating and demonstrates how these incredible finds can happen in the most unexpected circumstances, beginning with an elementary school teacher in Pennsylvania who had made it a practice to give her students small rewards for good behavior and academic achievement, often using coins from her purse because she thought it was more meaningful for children to receive actual money they could save or spend rather than stickers or candy. And one day in 2015, she gave a particularly studious 4th grader a penny that she'd received as change from a coffee shop that morning, never looking at it closely or realizing it was anything special. That 4th grader, a boy named Marcus whose father happened to be an amateur coin collector, brought the penny home and showed it to his dad, who immediately recognized that something was very unusual about the coin with its multiple overlapping images and strange size. And after an initial examination under magnification, the father contacted a regional coin dealer who in turn reached out to one of the major grading services. And within a week, experts had descended on this family's home in suburban Pennsylvania to examine what they suspected might be one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the century. The authentication and grading process for that first specimen took nearly 3 months, involving multiple independent experts who flew in from across the country. Sophisticated imaging technology that created three-dimensional scans of every surface feature, metallurgical analysis that confirmed the planchet composition matched quarter specifications rather than penny specifications, and comparison with mint production records to verify that the error characteristics were consistent with the equipment and processes used at the facility where the coin was struck. When the coin was finally authenticated, certified, and publicly announced, the numismatic community erupted with excitement, and within days, treasure hunters across America were suddenly paying very close attention to their 2013 pennies, examining millions of coins in hopes of finding another example of this extraordinary error, though as of today, only one or two additional specimens have been confirmed, making this arguably the rarest modern American coin in existence. The valuation process for something as rare as the 2013 quadruple strike error is incredibly complex because there simply aren't enough comparable sales to establish a clear market value. So instead, experts look at prices achieved by other extreme rarities across all of numismatics, adjust for factors like condition and collector demand, and arrive at estimates that often span a range of tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars depending on which assumptions are used. The family that discovered the first specimen faced an agonizing decision about whether to sell immediately or hold the coin as a long-term investment, and they ultimately chose to sell through a major auction house, with the proceeds allowing them to establish college funds for all of their children, purchase a larger home in a better school district, retire the father from his job, so he could pursue his passion for woodworking full-time and still have substantial funds remaining for investment and charitable giving. The technical explanation of how such an extreme error could occur in a modern mint facility involves a cascade of failures across multiple safety systems, starting with a quarter planchet somehow being fed into a penny striking press, perhaps because a maintenance worker accidentally mixed planchets from different denomination bins, or because an automated feeding system malfunctioned and pulled blanks from the wrong hopper, and then that wrong planchet entering the striking chamber where it should have been immediately detected and ejected by weight sensors or optical systems that verify each blank before striking. But somehow those safety systems failed.